Alright, so start streaming. Are you sure you want to start streaming the live event? Okay. Alright, hello and welcome to Tom Q's Tech Tip. Oh, sorry about that. Welcome to Tom Q's Tech Tips. I'm going to need to learn to remember to turn off my volume of my browser before I start broadcasting. So, I'm not sure exactly how that is sending audio out into my speaker system. But anyway, got something new to show you today. I'm going to switch back over here and go ahead and just dive in. We've got 3 new products that we're highlighting, and those are going to be a new video switcher made by Roland, the Roland V-1HD V-1HD. It's not new anymore. It's been around for over a year, I think. Anyway, it's new to us. ATOMOS Ninja Blade is a video recorder, and the Zoom H6 audio recorder and audio interface. So those 3 things are going to be our highlight. The Roland V-1HD has very simple button structure. You just tap the button and it switches between the different video sources, which are 4 HDMI inputs. So anyway, you're looking at a keynote presentation from an iPad, and also we're doing a picture-in-picture effect, which the buttons on the top of the Roland allow that to happen. So that's how this is working. So anyway, the Roland is going to be recording to the ATOMOS Ninja Blade. The audio is going to be coming through something that we needed because of the change. We have been using USB microphones up until now, and the Zoom H6 can be a USB microphone, but it also allows up to 4 XLR inputs besides the microphones that come with it, or you can buy an attachment that allows you to do 6 XLR inputs. But we're only going to need 2 or 3 of them. And so anyway, those are the 3 products that we're going to be building on here. And so you may remember the Blackmagic Design. Let me just take my picture off here. The Blackmagic Design Ultra Studio Mini Recorder. Sorry about that. That was my T-bar was in the wrong position. So the Ultra Studio Mini Recorder has been a part of our workflow for a long time. It's been allowing us to put 1 camera into our live stream. And that has been going to plugged into, of course, a Thunderbolt port going to our Mac, but we've added the CalDigit TS Thunderbolt dock, and that is then plugged into the Thunderbolt port of the Mac. So because of our older Mac that we have, the MacBook Pro, late 2011 MacBook Pro 13-inch, which has USB 2.0 ports, very slow ports for data transfer. The CalDigit TS Thunderbolt dock gives us 3 USB 3 ports. It also gives us a second Thunderbolt and an HDMI out. So I'm going to do a quick diagram of how these things work. I'm going to go back to the picture-in-picture here. The Zoom is going to be hooked up to the Roland, and with the XLR microphones, you're actually listening to a Shure Centroverse 12-inch podium microphone right now that you can see right here. And that's plugged into one of the XLRs of the Zoom H6. The Roland, which has the 4 HDMI ports, also has an HDMI out that's running to the Ninja Blade. The Ninja Blade has got an HDMI out that's going to the Blackmagic Design Ultra Studio Mini Recorder, which is then hooked up to the CalDigit TS Thunderbolt dock, and that is hooked up to the MacBook Pro 2011. So anyway, also the MacBook Pro is able to send its signal to the CalDigit through that same Thunderbolt port, and it is outputting to one of the inputs of the Roland V-1HD. So you can actually, right now you could see, I'm going to switch over to that view, and you can see that my live stream has been streaming for 5 minutes and 7 seconds. The health of it is good. And so anyway, that's how my computer is coming through. Let's go back to this view, the presentation. And so anyway, the Zoom H6 has the ability to be a USB interface for the MacBook Pro. So I have a USB cable running from the Zoom H6 to the late 2011 MacBook Pro into its USB 2.0 port, which is fine enough speed for audio. And if you're listening to the live stream, which probably you aren't, but if you were, you'd be actually listening to that USB audio interface. The Zoom H6 also has a cable that, or an output, audio out, through a 1/8 inch audio jack, which we have ported over to the audio in RCA jacks on the Roland V-1HD. So that's a basic scheme of what we're doing here, and I'm going to add a couple more things to this. So first of all, the two cameras that I've got hooked up so far are an older Canon camcorder and the computer's screen. So those are on inputs 1 and 3. So when we stepped out and purchased this equipment, that kind of left us with very little extra for purchasing other cameras. So we were hoping that we would be able to use the iPhone and the iPad as cameras. And so in order to do that, you would certainly need the Lightning to digital AV adapter made by Apple. This plugs into the Lightning port of either of those products, the iPad and the iPhone, and then has HDMI out that can then run into, I've got one of them plugged into port number 2 and one of them plugged into port number 4. And so that allows you to see what's going on the screen of the iPhone or the screen of the iPad. And so unfortunately that presents a problem. I'm going to go ahead and switch completely over to the iPhone screen, and you can see that one of the problems here is that you're seeing the interface of the iPhone. So when you open the camera app, the Apple camera app or other camera apps, they have controls for focusing and for exposing the scene or whatever, for starting and stopping the video. And so that shows up on the screen, and up until what I'm going to show you next, I might as well let's switch back over here, and we'll go back into the picture-in-picture. Up until I found these two apps, and FiLMiC Pro was the first one to do it. It's what you were just looking at, and you can actually see it in the little picture-in-picture right now. This happened, I don't know, last year about this time, maybe a little bit later. They made it possible. So FiLMiC Pro and Movie Pro are designed for recording recording to the internal memory of the iPhone or the iPad. And so my iPad Pro 9.7 can record 4K to its internal memory. The iPhone 5S that I have can record at 1080p to its internal memory. But these apps weren't really designed to output the video through that HDMI port. And so it kind of works on the iPhone. So I'm going to switch back over to the iPhone. We'll just take that off, and I'm going to go into the settings of FiLMiC Pro. If I can touch that, and under the device option, there is down below an option to tap to hide the interface. And so if you turn that on and make sure the option's on to hide the reticles with the interface, Then when you get out of there and you touch somewhere besides these little, besides these little guys here, if I tap right in the middle, for instance, the controls go away. And that more or less solves the problem. So there is the issue of the black border that you see. There is a on an iPhone screen, there's a very thin black border that goes around the entire image, and that comes, I guess, from the screen size not exactly lining up with the outputted, the output resolution. So anyway, whatever that is, the aspect ratio just doesn't perfectly match up. So anyway, it's not quite as much of a problem on the iPhone. But when you switch over to the iPad, and I am going to switch over to iPad and get out of Keynote, and we'll launch, let's launch FiLMiC Pro. So I'm going to go into FiLMiC Pro. This is, I'm using the rear camera here, so I just put a box back up there so you wouldn't be looking at the wall. I can touch the interface and get rid of it, but you're seeing a huge black border on the right and the left, and the top, little bit less pronounced, but the top and the bottom. And that's because of this, basically this 4:3 aspect ratio that the iPad screen has. And so that's my problem. I'm going to bring the whoops, there's Facebook. Good grief. Touch F for FiLMiC Pro, not F for Facebook. I'm going to, whoops, I meant to bring up Keynote. Let's go to Keynote. There we go. That's one of the dangers of using this as an input. But actually now I've got a little bit of a border on my Keynote presentation. I wonder if I can make that go away by getting out and going back in. So let's go back into the presentation. Nope. What if I quit, double tap, slide up, get out of Keynote, go back into Keynote, and open the presentation again. We will go down to the last slide and play. And yes, it is filling the screen again. So if you don't go in and out of the program like I've been doing in this presentation, you shouldn't have a problem. So digital AV adapter, HDMI out, the two apps, Movie Pro and FiLMiC Pro. So I reached out. This was when I first got the Roland V-1HD. I reached out to FiLMiC Pro and to Movie Pro. Got no response from Movie Pro, but which I think is a single developer. I'm sure he's overwhelmed just with working on the app. But FiLMiC Pro has more of a team, and they responded to my request right away. So they gave me a little bit of hope. This was about 6 to 8 months ago. They gave me a little bit of hope that they could look at this issue and see if they could solve the problem while they were working on some things. And so anyway, for 6 months, I've kind of entertained that that's a possibility that this could get resolved through the FiLMiC Pro team. And, lo and behold, the conference is going to be in a few days. And, it's kind of squeezing in on me last week. And so I reached back out to them. And long story short, whether or not they're working on that or not, it's certainly not going to be done by the time I have to do the recordings for the conference. So went back to the drawing board and started doing some searching for, HDMI out of iPad, and I found a little app called AirPlay Camera or something like that. It's $1, and I purchased that, and it worked, but the quality is just not there. So a little bit more searching, I found an app that I had actually just looked at before I made the purchase of the V-1HD Video Switcher by Roland. And so I'm gonna go ahead and tell you what app that is. It was Live to Air Solo by Teradek. and they have a big brother to this. This is this one, the solo app, is one is for one iOS device, and you can load some extra video clips into it, but you can't connect extra iOS devices to it. They have a big brother to this that I can't remember. It's Live to Air something. It might just be Live to Air, but it has a professional mode where you can actually use multiple iOS cameras and switch between them using the iPad, and then output that video to, live stream it or even record. So that app costs $100 for the Pro version, and then if you want to be able to record, it's another $50. I didn't want to take a chance on it not working. So plus, where we're going to be doing the conferences, I'm going to go ahead and put my picture back in here. Where we're going to be doing the conferences, the bandwidth of the Wi-Fi is just not that awesome. So I'm going to go with a different solution, with the hardware solution by Roland. But in the searches that I did last week, I found this little Live Air Solo app, and I'm going to just switch back to this camera for just a second, because I want to switch over and check something out here before you see it. All right, I'm going to go ahead and pull this back up, and I'm going to quit the app and go back into it. So this is the interface for Live. I'm going to go ahead and actually flip it around so you can see me a little bit. All right, so there I am. We're using the selfie camera of the iPad. It will be better when I can use the rear camera, but I can't control it and control it and have it look at me at the same time. So you'll see that you can see the problem here. It looks like it still exists. It's the 4:3 aspect ratio. But you can see some of the things where I'm going to reach over here and touch. You can add video inputs like a Teradek device, or you can load up video files, etc. I don't need to do any of that. You can also add overlays like lower thirds, or in this case they've made an overlay that has directions on how it works. You can actually slide these things out of the way, so you can see as much of it as you can, but I still got interface elements on the top and the bottom. Let's take that away. And so anyway, this app, you'll notice it says Go Live in the upper right. It's designed to be able to broadcast to, let me just pull up the options, broadcasting destinations, add destination. It is designed to be able to go to YouTube Live, Facebook Live, Periscope, live stream, Ustream, all these different kind of streaming options. And before I go show you the thing that's going to make this work for me, I just want to show you the encoder settings. I have as an option to use the 1080p resolution with an amazing bit rate of 10,000 kilobits per second. So that's using the iPad Pro 9.7, and I tried this app on my iPhone, and it, at a much lower resolution, it actually shudders and skips frames and so forth. But this iPad is seemingly doing a great job. Whoops, forgot the last thing I need to show you here. So I'm going to touch the AirPlay/HDMI output, and that allows you to toggle between the mirroring of the iOS, which we're currently doing, and outputting through the Lightning port the program stream. So I'm going to go ahead and click done, and boom, that's what I've been looking for with my iPad. I am still looking at, let me pull up my iPhone. Here's my iPhone screen in FiLMiC Pro, and I'm going to go into the settings and flip that camera around. And so what I'm actually looking at is the interface of live to air solo. But what you're seeing is frame to frame with no go ahead and turn off the picture-in-picture, frame to frame with none of the interface elements. So it's perfect. It's the best of both worlds. With the FiLMiC Pro app, if I want to do any tweaking, you have, it's going to show that. I'm going to have to turn the interface back on. Let's just let's switch back over to that. I'm going to touch the flip back over to me, and so anytime I want to tweak the focus or the exposure, I have to turn the interface on and then tap away from it to get it to come off the screen again. So so with live to air, I've got the controls on the screen all the time, and but you don't see them. And it fills out the aspect ratio of the 16 by 9. So so anyway, I am going to get out of that app, and over here we're going to get out, and we're going to flip back over to the presentation. And so if you want to use your iPhone or iPad, you're going to need some form of these 3 different apps, and I'm going to be using Live to Air Solo for the iPad, and I'm going to be using FiLMiC Pro for the iPhone, because it can't handle, the 5S cannot handle the demands of Live to Air. So just going to throw in another element here, and so this is our PA system that has not really been involved much in the live production, except when we pass the microphone around for questions at the end of the presentations, questions and comments, the USB mics have been picking up the audio that's coming out of the PA system. And that's how we've been handling the question and answer part. It's a little bit muddy, but it kind of worked. So what's happening now, so we're going to diagram this a little bit more. We had been plugging in the XLR microphone into the 1XLR jack of the PA system. We're going to then now reroute that. So because the Zoom H6 has those XLRs, and because it can route itself to the Roland, and because the Roland can route not only its audio through the HDMI to the Ninja Blade, but also it has another 2 RCA jacks that are audio out of their own. And so we got a RCA to 1/4-inch cable that is running from the Roland to the Samson Expedition XP106. So we're able to reroute that XLR microphone, instead of going into the PA system itself, put it into the Zoom H6, which then routes it eventually back to the PA system. So it's being recorded by the Roland, or technically being recorded by the Ninja Blade. It's being sent, before it gets there, it's going out the USB back to that MacBook Pro. So it's being used for both the audio of the live stream and the audio that's getting recorded in the Ninja Blade. So when we purchased that PA system, we had already owned the the Samson Stage XPD1 USB digital wireless system, which included a wireless mic and a USB receiver that we initially purchased it to plug into the Mac directly. It also can plug into an iPad or an iPhone and be a wireless single microphone for those things. But that package that we already owned works with the PA system, the Expedition XP106. And so it can handle one XLR microphone and this wireless microphone. And so anyway, what you do is you plug in the USB port into the USB port on the back of the PA system. But right next to that USB port, there is a 1/4-inch out. And so we've got a cable running from that 1/4-inch out into the Zoom H6, which handles XLR or quarter inch. Right in the middle, it actually has the port for the quarter inch. So we're running a cable from the PA system back to the Zoom H6. So you have to be a little careful that your settings are not such that you're going to get feedback. But the hope here was that we would be able to use the wireless microphone that we've been using with the PA system to do the recording directly to the live stream. So anyway, we're going to demonstrate all this stuff, and that's the end of the diagramming part. So here's the last slide of the presentation. I'm going to get out of Keynote, and immediately the problem with the iPad is going to come back. As soon as it gets out of the Keynote presentation, it's going to pop out, and not sure why you're still not seeing it, but I'm going to totally get out of Keynote, and we're back to the 4.3 problem, but we're going to Live Air Solo, hops into full frame, although you're not seeing me move. So I'm going to do the little double tap again, quit. I just quit the app, and we're going back into Live to Air. This could be an iOS 11 problem, but I don't know. So we're going to flip the camera around, use the selfie camera again, and all right, so you're seeing me. It is not full frame now, so let's just do the double tap again. And what are you guys seeing? You're still seeing, I don't know why it's still working at all. I'm going to go ahead and quit that. There we go. And let's go in there one more time. Live to Air Solo. And I'm going to tap the interface, flip the camera around, and okay, we're back to full frame. So I'm not going to be getting in and out of during the conference. I'm not going to be getting in and out of it like I am here. So once it's in there, it should stay there. So anyway, let's do some looking around here. I'm going to switch back over to the iPhone camera. We're going to go over to the interface. We're going to flip around the camera. And so here is my setup on the Roland V-1HD, and I'm gonna move the little it's wanting to re-expose. If you press and hold on the FiLMiC Pro exposure thing, you get a more precise ring, and I can lock it into place, and I'm going to tap away to get rid of the interface. So you can see exactly what I've described in the cabling. We've got our 4 inputs over here, the Canon Vixia camcorder, iPad, computer, and then the iPhone. This cable right here is running to the recorder. So that recorder is over here, and I have mounted the recorder on top of a video head by Manfrotto. And so so why would I need my recorder to do that? Well, on top of the recorder I've mounted a ball head, which simple reason for using the ball head. So on top of the Ninja Blade is a 1/4 inch port, which I've adapted to 3/8 so it can mount this ball head. This is so that I don't have to twist over and over again the iPad. So I can just pop it on and off with the quick release plate. So anyway, otherwise, if some of the videos that I watched, you have to twist your expensive equipment 10 times to screw it onto the device there. So anyway, that the recorder is mounted on top of the video head, but here's the cable that's running from the Roland V-1HD. This is the input, and then this guy is the output that's coming over to the Blackmagic Design Ultra Studio Mini Recorder. So, which is then running into the CalDigit, and that's running into the Mac. So, not sure what to bring up next. There's let's bring me up picture in picture. No, that's the same thing. We'll flip over like this. Now you can see me again. So we can zoom into the recorder a little bit here, and just want to point out some things. You can see that I have 15 hours and 52 minutes and it's counting down. This is how much time of recording time I have left in the ProRes LT mode, which is the least consuming of the qualities. It's the least quality, but it consumes the least amount of space. Down at the bottom you can see that, oops, let's see if I tilt this a little bit. I've been recording, you've been listening for 31 minutes and 25 seconds. I've been recording for that long anyway. So anyway, when I first started using this recorder, I ordered it with two SSD drives. Let's see what camera I want to use here. I want to go take off the picture-in-picture, and we'll just switch over to this. So the ATOMOS comes with these little caddies, and you mount your SSD disk inside these caddies. So it's it's not super easy to pop them in and out. You have 4 screws that you have to take out. But anyway, this helps it mount properly inside the recorder. I purchased 2 SanDisk X400 SSDs to go with this. I had seen it on the ATOMOS website. They have a page, or I thought they had a page where they listed the compatible drives with their recorders. And it turns out that the SanDisk X400 is compatible with one of their recorders. I might have been looking at the Flame or something like that, but it's not compatible with the ATOMOS Ninja Blade, at least according to ATOMOS. So anyway, I popped in the SSD and began to record. Let's see if I can. Oops. There we go. Let's switch back over to the phone. Began to record, and instead of getting 33-minute recordings, it was basically starting and stopping all over again. So it would record for a minute or 2 or 5 minutes, and then it would start over. The counter would start back over at 0. And so anyway, I reached out to ATOMOS about this, and they suggested 2 things. They suggested the possibility that this cable over here, let's go ahead and see if I can tweak that a little bit more. This cable right here is the cable that's going to the Roland, and it is made by Cables Matters. It's not an expensive cable. It was 2 of them for less than $10. And so when they suggested that could be a possibility, it certainly didn't seem far-fetched to me, just based on price. I mean, the cable did get good reviews, but was very inexpensive, so maybe that was it. Then they also mentioned the write speed of the disk. So anyway, I purchased, after that discussion from them, I purchased this cable, which is now plugged in right here, and to my the Blackmagic Design Ultra Studio Mini Recorder. I purchased that cable and plugged it in, and I also purchased, what are you guys looking at? There we go. I purchased this disc by Samsung. This was on the list of supported discs by ATOMOS. I also found a web page that compared write speeds of this to the write speeds of the SanDisk X400, and this was much, much faster at writing. So between those 2 things, getting the new disc, I only bought 1, and the new cable, problem went away. So so anyway, I decided to just try the old cable again, and it works fine. So it was not the cable problem, it was definitely the write speed of the SSD problem. And so anyway, I couldn't afford another disk, so it occurred to me that I had a 1 terabyte version of the Samsung 840 EVO, which is not as fast as the 850, but I went ahead and took a risk and moved my operating system and stuff over to the SanDisk X400. It's running. They're good drives. They're fine for putting in the computer. They're just not fine for recording 1080p video. And so I made the switch. I took the 840 out, Samsung 840, and it works. Even though it's not on the ATOMOS list, it's working fine. I've made multiple hour-long recordings of that on the 1 terabyte version of the 840. So that's why I've got 15 hours and 47 minutes left on this disk, is because I've got the 1 terabyte version in there. This 250 gigabyte version will record about 6 hours in the LT mode. So that would have been about 3 sessions, probably not 3 full sessions. And so I was initially concerned about how am I going to get the recordings off of this onto something else in time between the different sessions. So it turns out in the LT mode, a 2-hour session runs between 80 and 90 gigabytes, and it takes my 2011 Mac about an hour to get that to get that 80 gigabytes converted over into a smaller file for uploading to YouTube later. Takes about an hour, reduces the 80 to 90 gigabyte file to something less than 20 gigabytes, so much more manageable for uploading. So anyway, that's something that you're going to run into if you're interested in this combination. Another thing, let me pull over here. This might be of a concern to some of you. It's not to me. I was a little bit disappointed at first, but let's go ahead and switch views over here. On the back of the Roland, there's a switch where you can go from 1080p to 1080. Can you see it? I think you can. There's a switch that goes from 1080p to 1080i to 720p. And of course, I would have preferred to use 1080p, but basically the Roland cannot handle, not the Roland, the ATOMOS Ninja Blade cannot handle the 1080p that the Roland is putting out. So reached out to Roland over that. They said that the Ninja Flame or one of the higher end ATOMOS recorders would do the job. I'm not concerned about it. I've seen the output video from the 1080i recorded in the ProRes LT, and it looks good. So anyway, that's just another thing. If that bothers some of you, you're going to need to invest in the better recorder. So I want to take a look. Let's move over. Moving over to the Zoom, and you can see that. So it's got these 4 inputs. I'm using 3 of them right now. This is the microphone that you're listening to. It's the Shure Centroverse Podium microphone. It requires phantom power, which this recorder allows you to turn on phantom power for the different XLR jacks. My other mics do not. Anyway, this is the cable that's going to my PA, that's coming from my PA system. So it is currently turned on here, but my microphone, let's switch back over here. This is the microphone that had purchased a long time ago to plug into the Mac. This microphone, if I want it to work, I'm going to have to turn it on. It runs on a couple of AA batteries. And so I'm going to turn off number 2, which is the podium microphone. So you can just hear the microphone by Samson, the wireless microphone by Samson. So let's pop back to me. So anyway, this microphone, where it's plugged into, is the PA system, and I am going to switch cameras over to the PA system, and I'm going to walk over there and just highlight. So we're basically going through what we diagrammed. So you can see it's got basically four different kinds of channels. This is the USB receiver for the microphone that I'm using. I have it turned up a little, not halfway, but about a quarter of the way. I could go louder. It can go very loud without feedback. But I'll put it back to where it was. And then this is the cable that's running from the Roland V-1HD. So, and then here's the cable. The one that's next to the USB. This is the 1/4 inch that's running back to the Zoom H6. So anyway, that whole little setup there. Let's sneak back over here. And pop back over to me. You know, I should have. Well, anyway, that whole little setup is going to allow us to have a microphone for passing around to the crowd for comments and questions. It's also going to give us something that the speaker can use if he wants to stray from the podium microphone. So anyway, I've also got hooked up. This is the XLR microphone that came with the PA system. This one, like this mic, you have to keep it fairly close to your mouth. So that's why I picked this one up. But so anyway, let me just pop over to the Zoom again. I'll turn on number 1, which is the other microphone. Testing 1 2 3. Let's see. Let's turn off number 3. Testing 1 2 3. It looks like you should be hearing loud and clear. So anyway, this microphone will work as well. Not sure when we'll use this, but maybe more for the PA system. I'm not sure why we'll need this one, but we might need it. Might have 2 speakers or something like that. So let's turn back on number 2. Let's turn off number 1. I've already turned off this microphone, so we're back to the podium microphone. And is there anything else I need to talk about? It seems like I'm forgetting something, but that's the gist of it. So anyway, if I can't think of anything else, so the big takeaways are. Oh, one more thing. I did think of one more thing. I'm going to pull over my little iPhone camera here and let it show you this little. All right, let's pack. We'll put in picture-in-picture again. So I don't need that because you can see me anyway. This is a little 7-inch high-definition monitor that is running HDMI out over to that output port. Not the output port, but the there's a preview port. They call it preview. So this is allowing that preview port lets you see in a visual form the 4 things that the different cameras are seeing. So that's what that's about. And I wanted something that's not overwhelming. And like here in my own office, I use a 21. I've been using the 21-inch or 22-inch monitor, but at the conference, I don't want there to be that much distraction. So anyway, that's another little addition that kind of didn't. You might want to consider the need for something like that, because especially if the cameras are remote from you, you're going to need some way to decide whether you're going to switch to that view or not. So I think that's it. One more thing. I'm going to go over here and just show you something that came with the Ninja. And it's a little, so I'm going to switch over to another view again. All right, so we talked about the little caddies that come with the Ninja. The Ninja also came with a little sled, and this sled, it's one of those things that requires 2 USB ports. So that actually worked out very well with the CalDigit, because it has 2 USBs on the back. One of them is used for power, one of the USBs is used for the data. And so when you're done with your recording, you can just take the sled and take the caddy and pop it into the sled, and then it will show up on your computer. So that's when we can do the picture-in-picture here. That's when that timing of the files taking, it took me an hour to basically convert the 80 gigabyte recorded file from the Ninja Blade into something more manageable to upload to YouTube. So anyway, I'm gonna switch back over. Here's the feed and processor, the YouTube Live interface, and I'm just going to flip over to one other thing, this OBS software. I'm running this instead of the Google Hangouts thing because of this little option inside here for delaying the audio, and this is not necessary for my live recording. It's necessary for the live recording. It's not necessary for the recording on the ATOMOS, because the ATOMOS, there is an option for doing delay in there if necessary, but it's close enough for me. But when I was doing whatever is going on between, and I can get out of this now. Let me just take that out and come back over here. Switch back over to Safari, and I'm just going to, we'll flip back over there. I'm going to come up here and click on Stop Streaming in just a second. So anyway, thank you for watching. Hope this is. I've done this about 16 times trying to get this broadcast right, but it's not just trying to get it right for you. It's just getting through the steps, just dry runs for me basically, so that when I get to the conference recording, none of this stuff takes me by surprise. So anyway, this has definitely been an exercise more for me than for you guys. I hope it can be of benefit to somebody else that's contemplating taking a plunge like this. And so thanks for tuning in, and I'm going to say, if you've got questions, you know what to do down below, and I'm gonna call it a day. So thanks for watching. Have a good day. Bye-bye. Are you sure you want to stop streaming? Yes, I'm